Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor and where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, my best align.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, enjoying some sunshine here in Los Angeles. The sunshine feels really good here. Feels really good, and I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying a little ray of sunshine. And if the weather ain't all that great, I hope you're being a ray of sunshine. I've been touching till you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. You gonna come out to the party? Huh? You coming? We're gonna be looking for you. Our KBLA Talk 1580 4th anniversary events are fast approaching, and seating at all 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of our special events is getting tight. Have you registered at our KBLA1580.com website? Well, if not, let me encourage you to stop and do it right now so that you don't get left out. We don't want anybody left out. We don't want to hear anybody say, oh, I didn't know. If only I knew. It's our 4th anniversary, and we want to celebrate it with you. If you're planning to join us for our 4th anniversary celebration and barbecue on the Juneteenth holiday, we're asking everyone to bring a food gift card of any amount for the victims of the Altadena fire. Grocery store chain or restaurant, whatever it is, we're grateful for whatever you bring to help the families that are still displaced. They're still displaced by the wildfire. So if you go to our KBLA1580.com website right now and sign up for the events you plan to attend, we'll look for you. All of our anniversary events are free, but seating is limited, and you got to register. So go ahead and get on that. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, a lot of folks are out there fighting back. And we try not to be gratuitous with personality-centric news, with Trump news. We try to make sure we're sharing with you information that you can use. And we also want to make sure we're elevating the people and places and voices of folks that are saying, nope, not on my watch. Nope, I'm not participating in that. Nope, I'm fighting back. And in Oklahoma, that's exactly what parents are doing. They are fighting back. The Washington Post reporting that Oklahoma parents are fighting a new curriculum on 2020 election discrepancies. You see, a battle is roiling Oklahoma over new social studies standards that include teaching high schoolers that there were, quote, discrepancies in the 2020 presidential election as a legal fight unfolds over allegations that the state superintendent added the provision to the standards without notifying some of the education board members before they voted to pass them. An Oklahoma County judge is considering a request to block the standards from being enacted and heard arguments just yesterday in the lawsuit, which was filed against state education officials by a group of teachers and parents. Meanwhile, other parents opposed to the standards content are circulating opt-out forms to remove their children from the future lessons. Under the curriculum, high schoolers would be asked to analyze debunked theories related to the 2020 vote and election security, such as, quote, security risks of voting by mail and batch dumps of ballots, references to the disproven theory circulated by President Trump that he did not lose the election. And so a number of parents in Oklahoma saying, not on my watch. You ain't going to have my kids confused about what really happened in the 2020 election. Speaking of being confused, a number of deaf Americans are now suing the Trump administration over a lack of sign language interpreters for White House events. This group of deaf Americans who previously forced the White House to provide American Sign Language interpreters during press briefings is asking a federal judge to again intervene after President Trump halted their use in January. In this lawsuit that was filed just yesterday, the National Association of the Deaf, they argued that the Trump White House removal of ASL interpreters at press conferences and briefings violates federal law. The same group previously forced the White House to provide interpreters for COVID-19 briefings during Trump's first presidency. And former President Biden expanded their use when he took office. And so the deaf community, again, saying not on my watch, they want to be included. They are saying it's a violation of their rights to not have these ASL interpreters. And so, and anybody who knows, Washington, D.C. in particular, there's actually a pretty significant deaf community. Andy, did you know that? Did you know that there's a really big deaf community? Gallaudet University is a school for the deaf and the blind, if I remember correctly. And so there's a pretty significant community there, and they ain't messing around. They're not messing around at all. Moving along, students banned from graduation after coming out online. You hear about this? The Washington Post is reporting that days before Morgan Armstrong was set to graduate from Tennessee Christian Prep School, she announced on Instagram and Facebook that she's gay and in a relationship with another woman. Armstrong, who's 18, said that the late April decision to come out online using the caption, quotes, "cats out of the bag," happened spontaneously. She said everyone else gets to post their boyfriend or girlfriend. So just because I have a girlfriend and I'm a girl, why does that mean I shouldn't be able to? I like the pictures. I love my girlfriend and I want to show it. But guess what? Less than a week later, Armstrong was summoned into a meeting with Tennessee Christian's top administrators and banned from the campus and school events, including her own graduation. This is what she alleges in a lawsuit that was filed a few weeks ago against the school near Chattanooga. The school also threatened to withhold her diploma and share records of her social media posts with prospective colleges and universities if she spoke out about the school or people associated with the lawsuit. That's what the lawsuit alleges. And so, this 18-year-old girl is she's fighting back. She's using her voice. That's what we do around here. That's at least these are stories that we like to elevate around here. Finally, the LA Times is reporting that civil rights groups sued to end cash bail in Riverside County, alleging dangerous jail conditions. A cadre of civil rights groups brought a lawsuit late yesterday challenging Riverside County's use of cash bail to detain people as they await trial, citing just terrible conditions inside the county jail where dozens of inmates have died in recent years. The class action suit is the latest to challenge the legality of cash bail systems in California after the 2021 state Supreme Court ruling that found it unconstitutional to jail defendants solely because of their inability to pay their way out from behind bars. And so we'll be sure to keep our eye on that. But when we come forward, I am so looking forward to connecting with an old friend who is now an author. She's an author of an incredible book. It is an incredible work of art, and it's a timely story. It's a story that I think will stand the test of time. The book is called We Belong to Ourselves. And when we come forward, its author, Ariane Edmonds, will join me live right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PUSH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. This is more than a conversation about a beautiful book. This is a beautiful reunion. I am so excited to welcome Ariane Edmonds to the show. She is the author of this incredible book that's coming out that you absolutely have to get. I am telling you right now, this is going to be one of the biggest books of the summer. This is going to be one of the biggest books of the summer. We now belong to ourselves. That is the name of the book. It is in part a love letter to the ancestors. And I think in part it illuminates a path forward. I think a lot of us right now are, trying to make sense of what's happening in the world, and at times may feel like we're jogging in place. I think this book offers a lot of really great clues, and I'm so delighted that the author has decided to join us to talk about it. Welcome, Ariane. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. And it's so good to see you again in Quartelai.
Well, it's so good to see you. It's so good to celebrate this latest achievement. We now belong to ourselves. It is a story of J.L. Edmonds, the Black press, and Black citizenship in America. Let's start with the ancestor. Tell us who J.L. Edmonds is and why they are so important to this beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you for the question. J.L. Edmonds is my great-great-grandfather. He was born enslaved in Mississippi. He learned to read and write through the Freedmen Bureau schools during the Reconstruction era. And he worked on the trains as a Pullman porter and went back and forth, crisscrossed the country to save up enough money to move to California. And once he got to California, he started one of LA's early Black newspaper, The Liberator. Oh, I'm getting a call. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so, no worries. And so, a lot of folks may not know that there was this publication called The Liberator. I mean, right now, a lot of folks are familiar with the Los Angeles Sentinel, which is one of the beloved and cherished Black newspapers here in Los Angeles. There's certainly other Black publications, but The Liberator, was ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's The Liberator ran from 1900 to 1914, and it talked about some of the most important news stories of our day, both locally and internationally. The newspaper championed for women's rights. There's actually a few publications right on the cover page. Jefferson would print ballots so people knew what to vote for. They could bring it to the polls with them. It was a true a newspaper that really supported the community and helped us to establish what Black Angelino culture could look like, what we can dream towards.
Yeah, and so talk to us about Black Angelino culture, because I think there are a lot of folks out there that don't think of Black folks first when they think of Los Angeles, when they think of the West Coast. Certainly, any student of history knows about the Great Migration and how so many Black folks came to settle here. But talk to us about this sort of unique history of Black Angelinos.
Yes. So there's actually a few waves of migration to California. And Jefferson and his family were part of this kind of one of the early waves, which is in the late 1800s. Our family arrived in California in the 1880s. And, there was a small knit community of Black folks that lived there at the time. And they worked really hard to connect, to make sure that we could establish home ownership, figure out how we can start our own businesses. And we would send for families that were still living in the South to have them come to California to create a whole new life for themselves. I mean, I think we're familiar with some of the migration up to Chicago or to New York, and there's less told stories about Black folks that left from Mississippi or from Louisiana that came to California looking for something a little different. And so there's these kind of like early Black pioneers, that is what I would call them, that established social networks. So they created a program through the AME Church called the LA Forum, where they would read newspapers around the country so people didn't feel like they were leaving their family. You know, something like in Jackson, Mississippi, they could still feel connected. They could go to the forum to find out what jobs were available, where they could purchase a plot of land, where they could get support for a new business they wanted to start. So they really kind of built the infrastructure of what life out west could really look like.
What I love so much about how you've structured this book, the first part is what we brought with us, the stories that we carry. And then the second part is what brought us together. And then the third part is preparing our legacy. And so I really love that you really take us on this journey. And you remind us that we carry these stories, we carry these histories with us everywhere we go. But more importantly, we're not alone.
No. Yeah, I think, you know, I did an exhibition about Jefferson's work with CAM, California African American Museum, and some of the curatorial staff there. And something that came up as we were planning for this show, this exhibition, was this idea that Jefferson, you know, he had this very fabulous life in the South too. He was dealing with a lot of, you know, violence, and there was a lot of voter suppression happening, but he still figured out how to become a teacher, to educate young people through the Freedom Bureau schools. He still figured out how to get people engaged in the voter system. And instead of just saying, okay, this is enough, you know, I figured out something for my community, I figured out a way for us to advocate for ourselves, he was like, I think I could make a greater impact. And he kept getting so much resistance from the folks around him in Mississippi. He said, I know there has to be something else. So he came to California and thought this would be a place where he could still vote, still fight for those same things. And I just feel like that civic-minded powerhouse that already existed, that maybe with the space was too small for him, he said, I can still bring this somewhere else. And so he brought all those stories, all that passion. And I just think that we have to remember that we're not just here living our individual lives. You know, every generation after Jefferson, I'm now the fifth, my daughter is now actually the sixth generation. Most of us have worked for the city. Most of us work on government contracts where we're trying to help uplift our communities. So many of my family members have become teachers, professors. You know, when you set the tone for how you want to live your life, you can impact generations, hundreds of years later. I just think we don't always consider the seeds that we're sowing.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, and especially in this season where we're seeing, you know, such an attack on all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. I like to say that, you know, I don't spell Black, DEI.
Yes.
Right. As much as conservatives may want us to believe that, we come from a people who made a way out of no way, and this was a time where, you know, we weren't getting the government contracts that we have today. Our products were not on store shelves at Target and Walmart and Costco.
No,
Right?
no, we weren't getting branding deals.
Right? Yet and still we thrive. How important was it for you to remind us of that through your new book, We Now Belong to Ourselves?
You know, it's so interesting because I think that when I was planning for this book, I was actually going to go in a very different direction. I was going to actually focus on Black Twitter, focus on Black journalism now, and what we learned from the Black press back then. But something really, I something emerged as I started writing, and it was something, I think it was a little actually deeper. I wanted to explore what does it feel like when we have ownership of our media systems? What does it look like when we have ownership of our own stories, the way we want to live? And I wanted to spend more time unpacking the vision and the dream I think that Jefferson and that generation had. I mean, this is a generation where they saw so many different constitutional changes. You know, there was the passing of the 14th and 15th Amendment that allowed Black men to vote, that allowed us to be free. And so, or free, I use air quotes, but, you know, to,
yeah.
to be, you know, for slavery to end,
right?
For the form that it was, yes. But there is this hope that they could create something new. There was like these seeds. There's this, and it's a kind of hope I think that we don't actually have in this generation, because these are people, I know we don't use this language, but they were refugees. And throughout the book, you'll see how I talk about them escaping the South. He didn't just move to LA because he thought it would be fun. He was escaping for his life and for his family. And so, you know, to answer your question, I wanted folks to be able to tap into this idea that, you know, this is a specific time in history where they felt like, okay, we have all this new freedom. What do we want to do with it? Mm-hmm. So they wanted to be with each other. They wanted to build churches. They wanted to build, you know, families. You know, they wanted to vote. They saw what new policies, how it affects your life, and they wanted to be a part of it. And so I just think that we haven't been able to tap back into that same type of optimism, even though they went through so much oppression and violence. And, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, Jefferson is very fierce in his newspaper where he condemns, you know, lynchings. He did a whole campaign on it. Like they saw some of the most atrocious things, but they carried this like devotion, I think, for themselves, for their families. And I just wanted us to be able to remember that, because we can't tap into that the same way.
When we come forward, I want to pick up right there on how we might better tap into that kind of energy in a time such as this. Look, I think no industry is above critique, including the Black press, our industry. When we come forward, Ariana, I want to hear your critique of the Black press today and what we can glean from the work of your ancestors, our ancestors, to help power through this moment. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with author Ariane Edmonds on her new book, We Now Belong to Ourselves. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. More we come forward.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is reacting after President Trump said he will look at pardoning the men convicted of plotting to kidnap her in 2020.
I'm very disappointed that they're even considering it, frankly. You know, when the president was shot at in Pennsylvania, I was one of the first people on either side of the aisle to condemn it.
She said she'll be making her thoughts known to the White House, and she hopes what she says will be taken into consideration. EA has canceled its Black Panther game and shut down Cliffhanger Games. The move shifts focus to titles like Battlefield, The Sims, and Apex Legends. EA continues work on Iron Man, Star Wars Jedi, and Mass Effect. And the original Broadway cast of Hamilton is returning for a special 10th anniversary performance at the Tony Awards. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Leslie Odom Jr., and V. Diggs will all take the stage next month. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
A crash in Mid-City wrapping up on the 10 eastbound before La Brea. It has been blocking the left lane. Delays away from Cloverfield. Acton 14 northbound Sierra Highway. Another crash in the left lane sends you back from Agua Dulce Canyon Road. Tough on the 5 Lincoln Heights southbound at Broadway. That's where the 3 right lanes have been blocked due to a crash. Delays away from the 134 and Boyle Heights. A crash wrapped up 5 northbound at Grande Vista. The drive is recovering out of Commerce from Garfield.
Every day a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If you're an alumnus of Tuskegee University, one of our historic HBCUs, you should put this date on your calendar. Saturday, September 6, 2025. That's the date when the Tuskegee football team will play their first home game at night in the program's 131-year history. Tuskegee's home field, Abbott Memorial Stadium, never had lights all those years. With the help of Alabama Power, the electricity company in the state, lights have been built at the stadium and will be ready for use this season. The first night game will be against HBCU Central State, located in Wilberforce, Ohio. Abbott Memorial Stadium has a capacity of 10,000. Tuskegee alumni from around the country should pack the stadium for this history-making football game. In this climate of attacks on diversity, Alabama Power stood up for diversity and made a valuable contribution to an HBCU football program. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion,
and analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and so excited about this new book. I'm proclaiming it to be one of the most important books that you're going to read this summer. It's called We Now Belong to Ourselves. Here with us today is author Ariane Edmonds, who just, what a beautiful tribute to your great-great-grandfather, I've just got to read a little bit from the beginning of this book, if you'll indulge me. You start off by saying, we first find my great-great-grandfather, Jefferson Lewis Edmonds, in Crawford, Mississippi in the 1850s. He, like his grandson, Walter Chase Edmonds Jr., and my dad, kept a record of his life, his passions, his daily activities. I'm assuming Jefferson wanted someone to find him and the life he led. Well, I did. And I made it one of my missions to share the stories he left behind. You'll see me referring to my beloved Jefferson throughout this book. Using his first name helps me humanize him and make him feel more like family and not just a distant historical figure. You go on to say, before Jefferson moved his family to Los Angeles for a fresh start, he would first learn to read and write through the Freedmen's Bureau, through the Freedmen Bureau schools that were established during the Reconstruction era in the mid-1860s. And by 1875, Jefferson began teaching grade school and canvassing for voter rights for Black men in the state of Mississippi. He worked tirelessly to get Black legislators elected and sent to Washington. And according to a December 18, 1914 California Eagle retrospective, Jefferson was elected Justice of the Peace twice and served in the lower house of the state legislature in Mississippi in the 1880s. The first half of his life would be the training ground for the Liberator, the powerful Black newspaper he would become most known for. Wow. Wow. That is your great-great-grandfather.
I mean, it's interesting because I think my grandfather was so focused on this history. And when people ask me why, what inspired you to write this book or what inspired you to be telling this story? And, I always share that it wasn't just me. Each generation kept some of his letters, they kept his notes, they kept, his newspaper. He put them all in bound books. He kept each issue and put them in bound books, and they've been handed down in our family for over 100 years. So, of course, this is like a love letter to my family and to talk about all the amazing things that he did. But I think it's also meant to be a reflection to all of us that we also have, all of us have some stories, but if it's not documented, if it's not preserved, if it's not retold, and if we are not serving as witnesses to these stories, then we'll lose them. And so that's why I think Black journalism is so powerful and so important. And especially now when there is such, when there's really kind of like an attack on our history and our culture, and there's mass erasure. And so the role of the Black press, the role of all these journalists and storytellers, artists is so important right now. And I just don't think it's by accident that this book is coming out now to serve as a blueprint, to remind all of us that we've already done this. We face this and so much more. And there are blueprints that are available to us whenever we say we're ready.
I love that. I love that reminder that we've already done this, right? We have been here before, and we will be here after whatever this is. I continue to say and believe that the surest way that we get to the other side of whatever this is together. It's in community, and you outline that with electrifying clarity in your book. Let's talk about radical imagination. I just read a passage from chapter 1 of your book. We ain't even gotten to the meat of it. This is just chapter 1 of the book. And there are some folks out there that without context would think that you were pouring a little too much sauce on the story of your grandfather. The fact that a Black man at that time in the history of the United States was able to achieve those things, was able to exercise that kind of agency, right? That's foreign to people, in part because we don't have a chance to lean into and be exposed to these kinds of histories. Talk to us about radical imagination, and how you were able to capture some semblance of your great-great-grandfather's radical imagination on the page?
Oh, there's so much there to unpack, Nii-Quartelai, because Jefferson is powerful and beautiful and dynamic, but he's not the only one. He has so many contemporaries, other Black editors across the nation that were also doing the same thing. I mean, he's special to us, and he's a visionary, especially for Black Los Angeles. But there are hundreds and thousands of stories like this that have been buried. So my hope is that this book gets to be a searchlight, that says, okay, there's a lot more in the canon, and let's bring them out. But in terms of imagination, there's so many beautiful passages in the Liberator where he talks about coming to California and smelling the orange groves, what it means to sit by the beach and smell the ocean. They used to go to Bruce's Beach and spend time there. For those of you who don't know, it's like a very famous Black beach. They had a ballroom there, and it was like a social space. And he talks about what it means to have ease, what it means to have people who care about you and to be in community. And I think that he wanted to sell this California dream, this idea that yes, we have had so much suffering in our life in the South, and especially at this time frame, where I'm writing this book, a lot of folks were formerly enslaved. These are people who have seen all kinds of devastation, and so it's like he's helping brick by brick the Black community to see something different. One other piece I want to share is that when he was a Pullman porter, he, of course, obviously went back and forth across the country, but Pullman porters played a really important role, and they worked with editors, Black editors across the nation to help distribute the newspapers. And when some of the white leadership, especially elected officials, saw that they were using these newspapers to mobilize themselves, they started creating a lot of barriers. But they worked together to make sure the information got out. And these Pullman porters would be on the trains collecting news stories while they're on the first class news, the first class cart, where they're serving everyone. They're hearing what's happening in Washington, what's happening across the nation. They write about it. So we always find a way to make sure we get the right information. And so I just see our book and Jefferson's story as one of many, many, many.
That's right, and it's a reminder that our dear brothers and sisters may lose an anchor chair here and there, but the work and witness of collecting and understanding news and information, right? That's not tied up with an anchor chair, right? Just because somebody's no longer an anchor on your favorite network, it doesn't mean that the news and information stops flowing, right? It's like a stream. It just sort of takes on sort of a new direction. I am such a fan of you. I'm such a fan of this book. In our remaining minutes, I know that you have spent some time living abroad, and I'm curious as to how your time abroad helped to set the stage for you to develop this marvelous work.
Thank you. Oh, I love this question. Yeah, I lived in Ghana for the last 4 years, and I started a family. We got a baby. We got a whole life, and what a blessing, because I was meant to finish this book before I got married, before I had our daughter, and I think I would have missed, I think, the legacy piece. I think I was able to intellectualize what Jefferson may have gone through, what he did, but he had 9 kids. He was doing this for his kids. He's doing it for me. He's doing it for my daughter. And so I think that spending time on the continent and seeing what it feels like to be in community, I think in ways, the continent has its own power struggles with colonization, and there's all kind of stuff there, but it gave me a minute to kind of rest in a way that's very hard to do here, and I think it also showed me that, I talk about this in the book, in Ghana there's the Homo Festival, which is the Gon tribe is the ones that do this. It's like the Festival of the Harvest in August. And it's like a thank you, for everyone, for us to be able to like feast and eat. And there's some prayers and songs that happen throughout this festival. And one of them is like a prayer for someone, and is a song that's for all of the ancestors that were taken. It's for us. This thing about us during the Hmong Festival. And I was so shocked by that, and I remember listening to the song and feeling very emotional. I put this in the book, and I didn't know the words. And my husband was like, "This song is actually about you. It's about your family. It's about how we've missed you, and how we're still praying for you." And there's a lot of trouble, I think, within the diaspora. We all got our, we got our stuff. But one thing we do is we still don't pray for each other. And I think having those prayers, being in a space where we were still remembered, helped me to remember Jefferson in a way where there wasn't so much grief and pain all wrapped up in it. I got to kind of feel his story in a pure way. And I was able to build a new life the way he had to in California. I built that in Ghana, and it gave me a chance to see life through his eyes, and to give him give him a little more love, and I don't know, less of the toughness of what's been happening in our country. Gave me a little softness.
Well, this book, We Now Belong to Ourselves, it is a healing. It is more than a book. It is a healing. I highly recommend it. We're going to have you back again because there's just not enough time to really delve into the healing power of what's on these pages, of what's in the story of Jefferson, her great-great-grandfather. I think there are so many insights here that illuminate a path forward, particularly at a moment like this in American history and world history. We want to make sure that you launch well. And so we want to encourage people to go see you in person on June 5th. You can join the Rep Club for a discussion with Ariane Edmonds, the author of We Now Belong to Ourselves, along with Amber J. Phillips here in Los Angeles at 6:30 p.m. The event begins promptly at 7 p.m. And so if you go to questions@reparations.club, they'll tell you everything you need to know about this, or just go on Eventbrite and search it. But you can see her in person and continue the conversation there. We're going to have you back. We're going to have you back to talk more about this marvelous book. Go out and get it. It's We Now Belong to Ourselves by author Ariane Edmonds. God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a delight. This is my
Absolutely.
first with you, and I love it. Let's do it
again. The first of many. You're listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfiresupport@QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Marina Del Rey turns 60, and you're invited to the party. Join us Saturday, May 31st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Burton Chase Park for Marina Culture Jam, a free community celebration packed with music, dance, art, and fun for all ages. Experience electrifying performances by Takeo Project and Inca. Take a historic harbor tour, join the Freedom Drum Circle, and hop on a $1 water bus ride. Celebrate culture, connection, and coastline. RSVP at beaches.lacounty.gov/Marina Culture Jam.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We are coming around the mountain. Do we have that song, Coming Around the Mountain? I don't know why. So typically as we come towards the end of the show, I will pop in to mess with my brother and sound engineer, Andy, and I'll say, we're coming around the mountain. Is that too much information? Maybe. I don't know. But it's time for the quiet part out loud. And, Pride Month is June. And if you're in D.C., you've already started the festivities with D.C. Black Pride, which went off almost without a hitch. It was a great experience. And then World Pride is in D.C. this week and next week. But drag artists are getting attacked. And so there are folks who've developed a safety handbook that aims to help folks. Let me explain. Pride is a busy time for a lot of folks, particularly drag artists. And it's not always an easy one. NPR is reporting that just last year, drag king Freddie Mercury said that they received a bomb threat on Facebook ahead of a gig in Niagara Falls. Mercury reached out for help to, it's called the committee, but it's with a Q. So it's QOMMITEE, but it's pronounced committee. And committee is a network of drag performers and allies who aim to help people in just these situations. And so Mercury reported the threat to the FBI, and the gig went ahead with no incident. Committee, I want to give them a shout out because they are focused on drag performer safety. Committees dispense a lot of security advice to drag artists over the past year since their founding in 2024, and has now, with the help of some lawyers and other experts, they've distilled it into, get this, the Drag Defense Handbook. I'm not making this up. This is a real thing. The Drag Defense Handbook. The handbook, according to a drag queen based in Cleveland, they say that the handbook is a collaborative collection of experiences from drag artists across the country who have experienced hatred or threats and what they've done to stand up and make these safe spaces. It's divided into 7 sections: crisis response, online harassment and digital security, violent threat response, First Amendment protections, protections against defamation, employment discrimination, and mental health resources. The handbook contains best practices for dealing with everything from online doxing to bomb attacks. And so organizers of this handbook, hat tip to them. They've tried to incorporate feedback from artists who read drafts of the document and were worried that these earlier versions didn't do enough to acknowledge that some drag performers aren't comfortable with going to authorities in crisis, among other criticisms. Based on the feedback, the published version of the handbook, it includes a note on law enforcement, which addresses police violence against marginalized communities. And committee is also planning to issue an updated handbook next year that's more focused on community organizing efforts in response to threats. And so, you know, we end every show saying, do what you can from where you are with what you have. There are a number of drag artists that are doing exactly that. They got together and they said, you know what we can do? We can create a handbook to help keep drag artists safe. Remember, I keep saying the surest way that we get to the other side of whatever this moment in history is about, whatever lessons that are here to teach us, the surest way that we get to the other side is together. It's in community. It's looking out for one another. It's providing mutual aid to one another. It's being a safe harbor to one another. That's what this story is about. And so whether you enjoy going to drag shows or not, whether you've been to a drag show or not, this is about keeping other human beings safe and allowing people to safely be themselves, allowing them to perform, to express themselves without fear and without harm. We love to see it here. That's all we got. I want to thank the Village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day, including our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, my brother, Andy, to our show producers, Art and Faraji, and to each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We love you. We appreciate you. We curate the show each and every day with you in mind. And real quick, to Miss Diana McCord from Montgomery, Alabama, I received your mail. Thank you for sending it to me with the message, bless others, reminding us of our faith, to keep our faith. And so thank you. I think that's the spirit in which it was intended. I see that you have mentioned you've a number of Bible passages, John 10:16, Ezekiel 14:14, Ezekiel 47:22-23, the book of Ruth, Romans 11 chapter. I've talked to my mom about what all of that means. But thank you for thinking of me and for sending this along. Have a great weekend, everybody. Do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, do something. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tax increases on individuals, corporations, or the sales tax. The Capitol Jewish Museum reopens today.